conservative views on world news. Brought to you by The Wellness Company. Prepare for the unexpected. And Refuge Medical. And now, it's time for the show.
Well, hello, everyone. I have a special interview with a man with a cause, with a mission here. And it's a really special one. His name is Wayne Tomlinson. And I want to welcome you to the show. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you, Elsa. Thank you very much.
So I was a little slow rolling here and getting this moving, and I apologize for that. I don't know if people realize this, and this is like me playing my tiny, tiny violin. I'm a one-woman show trying to get it all, do all of the things, and there's my little violin playing for myself right there. But I love it. It's not a complaint, just an apology for not getting moving on this faster. So let's start. So I want to start first talking about you and hearing a little bit about you and your background. So I know that you have, now you tell me if this is a page or a group or you're just part of it, Neighbors Helping Neighbors. Is that an app or?
So when the pandemic started, I was monitoring an app called Nextdoor. Mm-hmm. And the Nextdoor app just links you to people in your geographic neighborhood. So all the people that you're talking to in that social media app are all people within 10 or 15 minutes of you. So I was on Nextdoor one day, and this was like in April of 2020. So everything was being shut down. People were losing their jobs everywhere. And somebody posted on there complaining about a dog pooped in their yard. That's pretty common on Nextdoor. And I went on there and I just told everybody, I said, you probably have neighbors on your block that have lost their job and don't know where their next paycheck's going to come from. And you're complaining about a dog pooped in your yard. I mean, there's a lot more difficult things to be dealing with than cleaning up after somebody's dog.
So true.
So I told everybody, I said, look, I personally don't have the means to help somebody that has a dire need, like paying a mortgage payment or paying a utility payment. I can't come up with that kind of cash, but as a neighborhood, maybe we could help somebody. So I just opened it up. If you need some help right now because of the pandemic, let me know and maybe we can get you some help. And so within I think it was the second day, I got a text from somebody that told me that the girl that does her nails has lost her job because the salon shut down.
Right. And
she can't work at home or she loses her license. So this lady had a toddler child, and she was rooming with she had joined forces with another girl that worked at that salon. So it was two single women with 3 toddler children living in an apartment together. And together, both of them had no income, so they didn't know where they were going to get rent or utility payments or even food for the kids. And so I went on Nextdoor and I posted on Nextdoor the story. These 2 girls needed help. They need help with food. They need help for a utility payment. And they need help with a rent payment. And also within 3 days, I had an entry haul full of groceries. We had collected like $2,100 just from neighbors. I mean, wow. Everybody that we've ever dealt with in doing that on Nextdoor has all the donations, all the help we've gotten has all been within 15 minutes of the house. We've wow. never traveled more than 10 or 15 minutes from the house to pick up donations or to pick up groceries or to pick up whatever people are donating.
I was going to say, when we think back on that whole time frame, we forget about the people who were struggling in that way. Most of us, or a large portion of us, think about how we were confined to our houses and it was boring, but there were so many people financially struggling, and I mean, never mind mentally struggling with the isolation and all of those things, that's a whole other topic. But you know, when you talk about these people who could not work, couldn't earn a living, couldn't support themselves, and it was abrupt, it was just like, you're done, and that was it. And
Right.
you know, when you hear stories like that, it's just mind-blowing. And then people like you come along and you're like, well, wait a minute, we can do something about this. You know, instead of complaining about somebody's dog pooping in the grass, let's actually use this app for something productive and useful and good. So what kudos to you, big time.
Yeah, so
Now
that's where it
keep
started.
taking me through.
Yeah, we went on from there. We helped in the next 20 months, just through the Nextdoor app and all of our neighbors getting, helping people out. It was just phenomenal what we accomplished. And we helped 51 families.
Wow.
Sometimes it was just paying a utility payment. Sometimes it was paying a rent payment or a mortgage payment. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it was we had 3 people, ladies, that were getting away from abusive relationships and having to start over. And you probably know how that is. When a lady finally makes that decision, she just picks up her children and whatever clothes they have on their back, and they get away.
That's very true.
And the first time a lady contacted me and said, a lady that works with her just started where she works. And this lady has relocated, moved from another town, and she has a 10-year-old son, and she has a job, and she's got an apartment because she has a job, but the apartment is blank. She says they don't have any furniture, they don't have any housewares, they don't have anything. She said they sleep on the floor. And so I put that on Nextdoor on a Wednesday night, and Saturday I delivered over to them an entire house, an entire apartment full of furniture.
That's incredible.
Bedroom suite, a living room suite, a dining room table and chairs, housewares for the kitchen, bedding for for the beds. I mean, it was incredible response from people. And most of the time it was just like, I've got this bed in my garage I'm not using, I'll give to them. Or I've got a dining room table, I'll give to them if you can come by and pick it up. And that's what we did. And it was just an amazing response from the community. And we did that 3 times for 3 different ladies.
Now, is that how you hear about these cases? Basically, kind of like a little bit of word of mouth, or somebody maybe posts something on the app. And let me just ask a quick question about the Nextdoor app.
Yes.
That's nationwide. That's across the country.
Yes.
Like every community has access to that. That's like everywhere. Okay, I thought so. Yeah.
So I told you I travel a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So I spend 6 months of the year in Florida, and I travel the other 6 months. Well, when I left Texas and went to Florida, I started doing the same thing in Florida. The Nextdoor app is right there. Just pull it up, tell it where your neighborhood is, expand it as much as you want. And I started the same deal in Florida. So that's how I got involved with the current effort that I'm involved in. I was looking on Nextdoor, and a lady posted on Nextdoor that they suffered a house fire, and they lost everything they own. She said, we're living with a relative, but that's going to get old real quick. We just need some help.
Sure. And you were kind enough to send some pictures along. Let me just show a couple of those as we're talking. I mean, this is obvious, complete devastation, absolute destruction. So that's, they lost everything, obviously.
Yeah. So what we did, I told her, I said, well, let me use Nextdoor, and I will try to spur some donations to you and see what kind of help I can get. Okay, so I started looking for contractors. She set up a GoFundMe page, and if you go to their GoFundMe page today, it's right at about $12,000.
Wow.
So that's in donations, pretty much just from the neighborhood. I have reached out to friends and colleagues that I had in the construction industry and gotten some other donations from those. But most of the donations that you see that get it to that $12,000 is all neighbors in that vicinity there in Tampa. So I also helped them, since I have a construction background. I helped them with trying to find contractors to help. And I contacted ServPro first, and ServPro gave us a quote to clean up the house, to remove all the damage and clean things up was going to be $70,000. Yeah.
Oh.
So I asked ServPro, I said, look, these people are in dire straits. I know you get most of your money from insurance claims, and these
Right.
people they didn't have insurance.
Right.
Because they just don't have the means to pay for the insurance. So they're on a very limited income, and they just couldn't afford it. So I said, would you do something for us and maybe do this on a pro bono deal? And they said, no, we can't do that. I thought, being a multi-million-dollar company, I'm just asking for
Right. Never hurts to ask.
One deal, but they wouldn't do it. So me and the homeowner and one other guy got busy, and we started cleaning it up ourselves. And I think I sent you some pictures of what it looks like today.
Yes.
So you can see we made a lot of progress. We have spent money on trips to the city dump, on cleaning supplies, on framing supplies to repair some damage to walls and roof structure. But we've got all those repairs done, and we've got all the wood sealed, so there's no smell of smoke anymore. And we're ready to go back in with some contractors now. And,
man, oh man.
Yeah, and what I did, I kept working with local contractors. If a contractor posted something on Nextdoor, like a plumber posts on Nextdoor that he's a plumber and needing work, I would contact him. And I'd say, I got this couple, would you really be willing to help? And I probably asked, well, I don't know how many people I asked, but I asked a lot of people. I found a guy at church that could help me find an electrician. He said, here, call this guy. He'll help you. And I called this electrician up, and I told him the story. And he said, well, let me come over and look at it. And I said, okay. So I met him and the homeowner over at the house. And he looked at everything, and he said, yeah, we can take care of this. And I said, well, okay, well, how much is it going to cost us? And he said, nothing. I'll redo the electrical service. I'll rough in everything. I'll supply the fixtures and trim it all out. I won't charge anything.
Talk about, restoring faith in humanity. These are the kind of stories we need to hear, because I think we truly, again, we are so forgetful of all the good things because we get inundated with all of the bad things and all of the bad news and all of the negative things. And especially when it comes to social media, social media is oftentimes a cesspool of garbage, just pure disgusting garbageness. And I just made up another word today, garbageness. But it's new word, everyone.
Well, I'll tell you, your program is a lot of political discourse.
It's a lot. Yeah.
And I'll tell you, in my effort, I don't care what somebody's political stance is. All I'm looking for is to help people. So I don't care if you're Republican, Democrat, Independent, Socialist, Communist. I don't care. If you're willing to help somebody, I'll help you do that.
I love that.
Yeah.
And that's what it really should be getting to. That's where we should always be, in that mindset that, I don't care any of those things. And you can add to that race, color, ethnicity,
that's exactly
religion,
right.
Like all of the things.
Exactly right.
If you are a human being and you see a human being in need of help, the common sense thing to do, the compassionate thing to do, is to do what you can and help. And I love what you said early on. You said that you didn't, like most of us, this is, you're speaking for most of the population, don't have the means to be shelling out money to help people. Just you did the one thing, and you made me think of my grandfather, because my grandfather always said the worst thing when you ask somebody something of someone, the worst thing they can say is no. And I love that you're courageous and bold enough to just simply ask. And and someone like me, like I can't ask for help if my life literally depended on it. I don't even know if I can formulate the word help. It's just that stubborn stupidity, really. So to ask someone for help, and and I know you're not asking for yourself, you're asking for other people, which probably makes it a lot easier, right? Like I wouldn't be able to ask for me, I definitely would be able to ask for other people, I think. That's what you're doing.
Yeah, I'll tell you also with that I've been accused of running a scam more than once. And I had one guy go on Nextdoor and tell everybody, don't give your money to this guy. He's just running a scam. And so I have to admit, I Googled the guy and found out, like I said, everybody lives within 10 minutes of the house.
Right.
So I Googled him and found out he lived a mile away from us. He was a general contractor. So instead of complaining about it, he could have offered to help some of these people, right?
Right.
So he was a general contractor. I found out where he lived. And so I contacted him with a private message. And I said, look, just between me and you, I don't appreciate you going on there and telling everybody I'm running a scam, because I'm not. And I
Right.
said, if you want proof of it, I can come over to your house, or you come over to my house anytime, unannounced. You just come over here and we'll go to one of these people's houses. I won't even have a chance to call them. We'll just go over to their house and you can ask them if we delivered the money that we promised them, and just see if I'm running a scam. And he said, I just might do that. I said, well, I'll tell you what, the first stop we're going to make is in your block. We helped somebody on your block
Wow.
make a utility payment. So that'll be our first stop. I said, they asked for a $749 utility payment or something like that. And I collected $1,410 for them. And I took them all $1,410. And we can just go over there and knock on their door. And I'm sure they'll be glad to tell you about it. So I've been accused of running a scam several times.
Sure.
Because, I mean, and I'll tell you about the donations. You mentioned about, you and I don't have the means personally to help a lot of these people. The biggest donation I've received is probably about between $1,000 and $1,500. But I get a lot of donations we get a lot of donations of $20. If you go onto that person's GoFundMe page that we're trying to help right now, there's a lot of donations on there for $20 and $25 and $50. Right? And,
yeah, they always say no amount is too small. Every little bit helps,
That's
do what you
exactly
can do. There's no shame.
Right. I tell everybody the biggest donation I ever got was when a guy asked me if he could help. And I said, yes. He said, well, where do you live? I told him. He drove over to my house, and he drove up in an old beat up brown pickup truck. Okay. He got out of his truck. I met him in the driveway, and he says, I wanted to make a donation to the people you're raising money for right now. And I said, okay. He reached in his wallet. He took everything out of his wallet. It totaled $28. And I tell everybody that's the most I've ever gotten, because it was everything the man had.
Yes.
He was willing to give everything he had, which was $28, to somebody else.
There are some really, really good people out there. Now, I would be remiss to not ask about, you mentioned people thought you were scamming people.
Right.
But do you ever, or have you ever come across a situation where somebody was trying to scam you guys for money? Because I would imagine that's a part of the,
Yeah, that's a good question. Like I said, I watch Nextdoor pretty regularly, pretty much all the time. So I see people that are on there every week, every month, asking for the same thing. So they have not had something happen in their life that caused them to be at this point. Like during the pandemic, those people, most of those people had no choice, had no knowledge that was coming, just all surprised by it. Other people, they just lost their job. But the people that go on there and ask for help every week, nobody's going to help them. Right. Because they see them on there every week too.
Yeah, you can tell, right? You get a good feel if you're on the app, and that goes for anything really, right? Particularly with social media. If you're seeing the same things over and over again, that discernment kicks in. You're like, oh, okay, this one is, just trying to get one over. Yeah, that makes perfect sense though.
Yeah, and before I'll ever go on the Nextdoor and ask everybody else to help, I always contact the person personally. I get involved with them personally, ask them to explain the situation. Ask them, okay, if you're asking for the community to come together and help you with a utility payment right now, what are you doing about your utility payment next month? What steps are you taking to remedy that situation so that you're not back on here every month?
Right.
And if they're needing a job, well, why are you just asking for a utility payment? Let me see if I can get you a job. Are you willing to work? And then if they're not willing to work, well, that tells me something there too. So
yeah.
But
so you do some vetting. You definitely do some vetting there to make sure that this isn't, it's going to worthy causes.
Yeah. Well, like the people that I'm helping right now with this house, recovering from this house fire, when I saw that post and I started talking to them personally. I found out where the house was. I went over and looked at it myself. I did some research on it, found out that yes, their families owned that house since 1958. It's been in their families for 66 years. And so, I found out all of that. This man and his brothers actually owned the house. It was deeded to them when their parents died. And but both of his brothers they're in dire straits also, so they really can't help him that much. So that's why I jumped in. I've met both of his brothers. So I know neither one of them can actually help a lot. So One of his brothers has helped some in getting the cleanup to the point it is right now. But I just, I do vet the people, call them up, talk to them, go over and talk to them before I ever ask people for help. Yep.
That's so terrific. So since we're talking about this family, let's talk a little bit about how people can help, how people can actually help this specific family, and then we'll kind of stretch that out into the more general, broad sense. So how can we help this family?
Okay, well, right now, like I said, we already have the electricals taken care of. We got the plumbing taken care of. We got the HVAC taken care of. We don't have cabinets yet. We don't have windows yet, and they are in the Tampa area where they're required to have hurricane-rated windows. Right. So the windows are very expensive. I don't have anybody to provide the windows yet. I have a general contractor that's talking about it, but I haven't heard from them yet for sure. So we still need money for cabinets, for windows, for drywall and insulation. I've got a painter that's going to help us through the painting process. There's some exterior trim that needs to be done. So right now, I said the GoFundMe page is right at about $12,000.
Terrific.
We need about another $14,000 for all of that stuff to be taken care of.
Okay, and we're going to make sure we put that link in. We'll put that link in the show notes too, so you'll be able to click it and go right to it.
Okay.
We'd appreciate able and willing.
The people are very appreciative of every. They will normally on the GoFundMe page. They are able to go onto their GoFundMe page and send a note to everybody that donates, unless you donate anonymously. But so if they're able to, they'll send a thank you to everybody that donates, because they're very appreciative. They know that they would have no chance of keeping that house in the family if it weren't for this effort. They've already gotten a couple of offers from house flippers that want to buy it for less than half of what it's worth when it's finished, and then they'll put the $40,000 into it or $60,000 into it and sell it for a $40,000 profit.
Right.
So they've already got a couple offers to do that. They just don't want to sell the house and take a loss on it. I mean, really, if they can fix it up for the $25,000 that I think we can get it done for that now, and then it's worth $220,000. Well, look what that's done for them. So we're really hoping to get some more donations to the GoFundMe page. If you happen to be in the Tampa market and you can provide windows or drywall, they still need donations for windows and drywall and cabinets and some trim work.
Amazing. I just love the image I get of communities helping each other out like that, or helping their people in the communities. And this is obviously a case of that. And, just my heart goes out to them too, because I'm thinking about it, and I've been, I'm so grateful. I've never experienced a house fire like that kind of loss. And, if you pause for a minute and think about that, it's, you have a lifetime of memories stored in your home, and all of those things are gone. You can't get those things back. But for this family, at least they get to stay in their home, the home that they've had, and that they love, obviously. So that is great.
One thing about it, when we were doing the cleanup, going through throwing away most of their stuff, the lady told me that she had taken off her rings, including her wedding band, and put it in a cup by their chair in the room where the fire started. So that room was just totally ashes. So one day I went over to the house and I just decided, well, somebody's got to do this. So I got down on my hands and knees and all the ash and mess and muck and went through there one handful at a time until I found one of her rings.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah. And then her husband went through and he found the other one.
Oh, wow.
But she just had to be willing to get down there in it and find it.
Right.
Well, I wanted to tell you one other thing. The one thing that motivates me to do this is that back during the recession of 2008, I lost my job. And I was in construction, lost my job. I was out of work for 13 months. I did find one job in the middle of that, but it was 13 months spread out over a 2-year period.
That's rough.
And through that time, I was about to lose my house. And I contacted people in churches that I knew, all the I mean, people, a lot of people will say, well, go to the 501c3s. They can all help. Go to Habitat for Humanity. Go to, United Way. All of these people have such a long vetting process and application process. These people that need help that I'm talking about, that I've been helping, they can't, lots of times they can't wait for that.
Right.
They can't wait for help for a utility payment. Their utilities are going to be shut off Friday.
Yeah, it's an immediate need. Yeah, and what better way to go direct like this? It's just such a brilliant idea.
Well, sometimes on the utility payments, I would have somebody just call up and say, I'll pay the utility payment. You just tell me their address. I'll call up the utility company and pay it.
Wow.
But the thing that motivated me was I was in this situation where I was about to lose my house. And I contacted one friend who has a lot of email contacts. I mean, hundreds, right? He sent out an email to all of these people that don't know me and I don't know them. And we started getting checks in from all over the country, from people that we don't know. Never
That's
have
so
known,
heartwarming.
never will meet them, but they helped us through that very difficult time. So that's what's happening right now on Nextdoor. Is if people that are watching this are going to go on the Nextdoor, they're going to help this family that will never know them.
Right.
They'll never meet them, but they can just be assured that they're going to be helping this family through some really difficult time.
And I think this is such a great incentive for people in general to, use apps like this and their community pages to start to, I hope this is like a ripple effect. I hope you have a lot of copycats.
Yeah.
We're going to call you the original. You're the OG, but we want a lot of copycats of people using this same model and same concept. Because
so people from all over the country are going to see this today. And I hope they will go onto the app store and find the Nextdoor app, upload it onto their phone or their tablet, and they can do the same thing. Exactly the same thing. It's just so easy. And if they need to, if you have somebody that's watching today that wants to do that, I hope you'll have a link to me so they can contact me if they want to. And
you read my mind. That was the very next thing I was going to ask you for, how we can connect people with you so that they can just get involved and be involved, and maybe pick your brain too, so they can do the same. So what's the best way for them to reach you? And we'll put that in the show notes.
They're welcome to email me, and that'll make an initial contact. And then I can kind of walk them through how to address that. If they want to go on the Nextdoor, if they're on Nextdoor and they see somebody that needs some help, I can kind of tell them how to approach that and make that happen.
That is perfect. Wayne Tomlinson, thank you so much for coming on and sharing this story. It's so eye-opening and heartwarming, and I'm so glad that we finally got to connect and do this. And I hope everyone watching helps out any way that you can.
If somebody tries to do this in their neighborhood, they are going to be surprised as to how many people are willing to help if they just have an avenue to do that. And this presents an avenue to everybody in your neighborhood. If you want to help this couple, you can help.
I love it. I absolutely love it. This is such a great story in pretty dark times that we're having. So thank you again. And you are welcome to come back anytime. Anytime you got a story to share, an update, any of those things, you got an open invite to come back anytime.
Even if it's a political statement?
Sure. Why not? Listen, I'm easy going. Even if it's the opposite of what I think, I'm cool with that.
All right.
Because we're civilized.
That's right.
Yes. Wayne, thank you again. And guys, thanks for watching. We will see you in the next episode. Take care.